episode number 5 of the Sound Design Diaries. And this time, no cards, no prompts, no inspiration points. I'm just gonna make some sounds using my freaking brain. And today we're gonna make chord patches. Not necessarily pads, although some of them may come out, pad-like. Because I feel like the term pad implies something very long and complex and layered, and honestly, if I'm using a synth patch to play chords, I usually want it to be pretty simple, but mileage may vary. So I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna grab a wavetable. For the sake of having a little something, I'm gonna write a very simple progression, something like this with a bunch of minor 7 chords. My favorite kind of chord? Well, maybe not my favorite, but it's up there. Let's go with something kind of harmonic series-y. Get an LFO going, map the oscillator position. I want to make sure the LFO isn't re-triggering on every note. Also the amplitude envelope, I want to give it like 20 milliseconds of attack and maybe like 50 milliseconds of release. In fact, I'll map those parameters to macro 1 and macro 2, and I like to make the parameters that I'm not going to randomize white. So when I hit random, these don't change. Make it a triangle wave, maybe make it a little slower. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I want to see how much I can do with a single oscillator. So what if I map LFO2 to the sync amount? Make sure I'm not re-triggering the LFO. All right, what can we do with a filter? Let's do envelope 2 to the filter. I want a very kind of standard ADSR type of shape here. Maybe make the movement just a little bit more subtle. Okay, I'm kind of considering playing with the curves a little bit because I kind of like the snappiness when it reaches the peak of that envelope shape. Yeah, I like that. And I think I'm gonna map the attack of that envelope also to macro 1. That's attack. Okay, give it the smallest amount of drive. Yeah, and I want that, I also want that snappy filter movement to be accentuated with a delay. I'm gonna use the kind of standard delay here. And I think I want it synced. I think I want it just kind of straight 16th notes. Maybe 8th notes. Nice, and I'll take these percentages up and down just a little bit to create a little bit of a stereo width with the delay. Nice, that sounds good. Maybe the dry wet down a little bit. Make sure I'm only kind of doing the higher frequencies. I think I'm going to map the feedback as well. Oh, and of course, I haven't even added some unison. Let's do random note. 3 voices, amount maybe like 60. Okay, now I want to get the second oscillator involved, and I just want to add some noise. You know what? I think I'll actually add noise with a sample. So again, go to one of my recorded sounds. What if I add... Yeah, I'm gonna add the sound of my printer, and I'm gonna find a nice section. Let me solo it. Make it a sampler, scale 0, 1 note of polyphony, map the attack time to the attack on the macro. Yeah, I like this section where the paper is actually coming out, and I'll make sure to loop it, and I'll high pass it. Okay, that's adding some texture for sure. But the delay, I also want to capture the noise, so I have to double group it, map these to the outside macro. The feedback I can actually unmap, put it on the kind of outer shell, map to macro 3, color coding, exclude macro from randomization for these first two. Maybe I'll experiment a bit with like a bandpass. Nice and quiet, maybe like -24. Experimenting with some amplitude envelope shapes. I'm not actually loving the kind of clickiness of the printer sound, so let me see if I can find something that's less clicky. That's much better. Give it kind of a softer attack as well. Maybe at the minimum like 200 milliseconds. And I'm going to use one of the LFOs to give the noise some panning movement. And then at a different rate, modulate the volume. Okay, we're definitely getting something cool. I think there's two things I want to add. I think I want some sort of erosion, and I want some more complex filter movement. Let's start with erosion. Yeah, and I want to map that to macro 4. And now some interesting filter movement. I haven't done much with this notch plus low pass thing. It's got potential. Grab an LFO, map that to the morph amount. Mess with the phase of the auto filter just to give it some more stereo interest. I kind of want to go back into the wavetable and incorporate this second oscillator, but I want something kind of, I don't know why, something like kind of specific is coming to mind. Yeah, and then like up an octave. And I want to, I don't know why this is coming to mind, but like I want to use this envelope. I want to loop it. And with envelope 3, I want to modulate the volume of the second oscillator. Can I hear it by itself? Making this kind of short but repeated sound. So now with both oscillators, I think I can use, yeah, this might be cool, using LFO2 to modulate the release time so that that repeated pattern is constantly changing. Like this. And of course, detune it just a little bit, maybe like 10 cents. I'm going to mess a little bit with the noise volume. And then high pass everything. I actually, when I duplicated this filter, I didn't have the intention of using the LFO, but since it's there, I kind of like it. I also want to distort the noise a bit. If I distort the noise by itself, it doesn't really glue the two together, so I think I'll use the drive on the filter. How can I make it just ever so slightly more unhinged? Okay, actually I think what I want is I want to use the chorus ensemble, but I just want to use the vibrato setting. That's, I mentioned earlier how it was sounding kind of retro. That's making it sound even more retro. I wonder if I want to go for unhinged more than retro. If I could change the shape of the vibrato, I feel like I could do something more interesting. So maybe what I have to use is the shifter. And I'll do the like random mode here, set the phase to 0. Maybe the saw up shape. I think we're getting closer. Sample and hold, maybe. Yeah, I don't want to do the shepherd filter thing, where you mess with the dry wet of the shifter. I think I've used that effect a lot, and I'm really just going for something that sounds like it's kind of like stuttering or kind of like teetering on the edge of giving out. Maybe even a synced version at like 16th notes, 8th notes. Oh, those are triplets, not 8th notes. Those are 8th notes. Maybe I'll mess with the width too. Yeah, so now I'm kind of looking for like, what's the maximum I can put it at? It still works as a chord, but it's kind of, falling apart. That's the kind of line I want to walk. And maybe make the rate slower too. I think we can push it just a bit more, maybe like 23 hertz. Okay, I think I'm comfortable with where the sound is right now. Let me tidy everything up. And as always, I like to add a little gain knob right at the end so I can map that to one of the macros. Okay, here is the final sound. Okay, I'm going to make sure I save the MIDI. And this time, what instrument am I going to use? I'm going to use my huge brain. I want to see what I can do with meld. I mentioned in the first sound design diaries that meld was not an instrument I liked very much, but I also feel like my go-tos like operator, wavetable, collision even, I have very like established workflows with them. So we're going to see what we can do. Let's go with just one oscillator right now. What is tarp? I don't like that. Don't like that either. That has potential, I guess. Let me try layering it with something. I know from experience that I don't want the swarms. Maybe a chip tune thingy? I feel like that's highly dependent on the scale awareness. The bit grunge is something. You take these each to like -6. Maybe even like -12. We'll spread it. Oh, okay. Never mind, I guess. The bit grunge is like not a pitched instrument, I guess. It sounds like it's like white noise being run through a bit crusher or something. Let's go with this like square wave thing. Okay, so here I want to take advantage of the like LFO shape effects. You can like start with a normal LFO shape and then kind of like mess with the shape of it, which is kind of interesting. And so maybe I want to map that to macro 2. Macro 1. Take the rate up. Oh, I take it back. I want it mapped to this LFO1 effects. Okay, I kind of like that. Can I make it a bit stranger, maybe? Okay, that's interesting. Ooh, okay. Ooh, okay, I got something here. I'm gonna map LFO2 of oscillator B to this morph parameter of LFO1. I forgot that when you click on a macro, it highlights it in the matrix. So LFO2, map that to Macro 1? Yeah, macro 1. Interesting. Maybe I'll even map LFO2 to this LFO1 FX1 macro. Okay. Meld, I underestimated you. Let me try taking the noisy oscillator up an octave. Yeah, so here, what can I do? I can mess with the shape here. What else can we do? Ooh. Yeah, let's try a shape like that. Why not? And so LFO1 FX is going to get mapped to the oscillator A macro 2. This gets a little confusing. And it's got to be slower. Yeah, so this oscillator B, I think I want to be a lot quieter. And I think I actually will return it to its original octave. Okay, I haven't even added any effects or anything like that. I don't want to go too crazy with this because it's already starting to kind of come apart at the seams. But I think I want to use the filters just to kind of help these two oscillators kind of agree with each other a little bit more. So let me actually solo oscillator B here. What can I do here? High pass. Yeah, I think high passing oscillator B here, make sure that that kind of glitchiness isn't staying in like the body of the patch and is kind of acting like decoration on top. Maybe I'll do some comb filtering. Okay, yeah, and I'm going to use LFO2 to modulate the filter frequency here. Oh, not that much. A lot slower. Okay, I'm gonna group all this. I'm gonna go to the amp envelopes. So both oscillators have different amplitude envelopes. So I think I'm just gonna kind of glue them together by mapping all of their parameters to the same macros. I am going to map the filter frequency of oscillator B to the modulation envelope of oscillator B. So much to keep track of with the synth. Rename these A, D, S, and R, and exclude macro from randomization. Okay, I'm going to close meld now, and I'm just going to focus on audio effects. Kind of wondering what I can do with shifter again, this time in the pitch mode. Maybe do like an octave up and then take the dry wet down. Yeah, get some of that glitchiness in there. And mess with the pitch in a similar way, this time with the random oscillator. But I'm not really going for unhinged the way I was in the previous one. I just want to add a little bit of character. But I will map that dry wet to one of the macros. Ooh, I'm also going to map this window parameter. Maybe better yet, I'll get an LFO. I want the modulation to be really subtle and slow. Map that to the window. Yeah, that contributes to that glitchiness, or that kind of stutteriness. Yeah, I'm almost tempted to get an operator in here and just add like a sine wave. Yeah, maybe just make it like a single triangle wave with the volume being modulated with an LFO. And then do the same thing by mapping the amplitude envelope parameters to the macros. Maybe not actually, maybe just make it a sustained. I'll experiment a little bit. Okay, maybe I'll grab a good ol' auto pan and just pan this meld patch kind of around the operator. At this point in the recording, my microphone stopped working, so here is a quick summary of what I did to complete the sound. First, I grouped the whole instrument rack into another instrument rack and sent both the meld and operator patches into an amp device to give them some shared context. Then I sent the operator patch into a phaser for a bit of added movement. Then I sent the whole thing into a DJ filter with a moderate amount of resonance and modulated it using the random shape LFO. I decided the meld patch was a bit too bright, so I used a low-pass filter to cut out some of those harsh higher frequencies. After that, it was just a matter of tidying the whole patch up, color-coding my macros, and adding a gain control at the very end of the chain. This included an added control for the tremolo amount on my operator patch. And here is the final sound. So my mic stopped recording towards the end there, but some final thoughts. I was exercising a lot more patience in this process, really trying to make sure that the sounds I was getting were the best they could be. I think in these recent videos I've been rushing the sounds a little bit, and also in regard to these prompts and stuff I've been using, they're really nice for when you're in a creative rut or you're just looking for a way to shake things up, but in truth, I don't really think I need that right now. I've been doing this a long time, and I trust my judgment and my own ability to know when something is working and when something isn't. So I'm really happy with how these turned out, and I think I may set aside the inspirational jumping off points for the time being, and instead focus on trusting my own creative judgment, which feels like a great note to end on.